Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for appearing again. Going to NAPLAN, why will NAPLAN no longer report progress through the NAPLAN bands so parents know how their child is progressing relative to other children?
So ministers decided in the 10th of February this year to move to a much better reporting system which actually provides more meaningful information for parents. They will now be getting information that indicates where they are in terms of proficiency standards, which were agreed would be introduced as part of the National School Reform Agreement. The bands, if you go back in history, back to 2008 when they were set up, they're essentially a statistical construct. We have a scale of around 1,000 points. The mean was set at 500, and then it was essentially divided into 10 bands. Now, that number was relatively arbitrary. It could have been more, it could have been less. It's a kind of a Goldilocks number, if you like, a nice round number. But it doesn't, the bands themselves, the cut points in the bands themselves, unlike the new system which we're introducing, didn't have inherent educational value, other than simply to be kind of marker points on a scale. It's a bit like saying, telling a parent, about their child's height, you know, they've moved in from the 0 to 20 centimetre band into the 21 to 40 centimetre band, or they've moved from the 0 to 10 kilogram band into the 11 to 20 kilogram band. What parents really want to know is my child actually progressing at the normal rate, or do they need additional support? And so these new standards,
I would disagree with that, actually.
The professional teacher view has been used to say what questions should children be able to answer to meet a challenging and reasonable expectation. And so we've used professional teacher judgment as opposed to a statistical or arithmetical division to identify what is the standard expected, and that's the one that parents we road tested with parents, and we asked them, would you prefer to see an individual student report with the numerical bands or with this more meaningful information? And they were quite unequivocal about it. They preferred the latter. It's also not correct to say that parents won't see their progress. The progress on each individual student report has never reported progress. You need to keep the previous reports, right? But even then, what you need to do, and what we will do now, even if you're in Year 3 and Year 5 under the new system, you may increase your NAPLAN score, say from 250 to 300. You may still be reported in Year 5 as strong, whereas you were also strong in Year 3. But the descriptors associated with strong will indicate a higher level of capability. So parents will still be able to see that their child has progressed into a higher skill set. And there will be more detailed information, more meaningful information for parents through the new system.
So, thank you for that. There are things in there that sound attractive, but I don't understand it well enough. So perhaps you could tell me what's wrong with this description. Instead of providing a reading score in band 3, 4, 5 or 6, giving parents an idea of exactly where their child is in terms of progression, all of those bands will be just replaced by one word, developing. ACARA has said parents found the bands confusing. Isn't that just an indictment on your failure to explain the more accurate band reports? Could you go into more detail?
Yeah, so
tell me what's wrong with that.
I guess going back to the point that I was trying to make at the start, those bands were simply arithmetically derived.
So a child was placed in there numerically?
Well, there's a scale of, say, 0 to 1,000. You set the mean at 500, and then you have your statistical categories set, your differentials set just by picking up, 100 or 200 or whatever the scale is to deliver 10 categories. But what we're doing this time is we're using teacher professional judgment. We've consulted professional expert teachers on asking them, where on the scale do you expect children to be based on what they've learnt in previous years? Which questions should they be able to answer to be able to say, yes, they're meeting expectations? That was not the case under the previous 10-band regime. And so parents will be able to see at a glance. And what's really important about the new system is that particularly those children who are genuinely struggling, they will be identified as needing additional support. And that's crucial because last time, under the old system, we had a category called National Minimum Standard, and it was broadly recognised that the National Minimum Standard was set too low. There was a relatively small percentage of children below the National Minimum Standard, but it wasn't really a call to action. Whereas now we will have more students identified in that bottom category, and it will be clear through the name of the category or the name of the level that those children need additional support. It will be a prompt to parents to have a discussion with their teachers about what needs to be done. And I think that's a real important change.
So the parent will be able to see the areas in which the child is deficient or strong.
So when you go to the descriptors, which will also be part of the individual student report, there'll be high level, because it's a paper-based report, you can only put so many words on a paper-based report. There'll be high level descriptions about, for each domain, that's reading, writing, numeracy, spelling and grammar, what it means if you're in each of those levels. And then, if you want even further information, more fine-grained information, you will be able to go to the ACARA website and get more fine-grained information. And with that, teachers will be able to have good conversations with parents about what needs to be done.
Okay, thank you. It looks like I have more understanding to be done.